Moral victories don't work, but that was a heck of a effort in Tallahassee, no doubt. Competitive game, hard-fought game, heck of a ball game. Miami comes up short by a touchdown against Florida State, and then they move on to another big matchup against Louisville. Hurricanes live right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here. Cam Underwood, of course, State of the U. Cam, how you doing tonight?
Good. It's a rainy day here in South Florida, or at least in Fort Lauderdale. So been inside pretty much all of the day because it's been raining since like 11 o'clock yesterday morning. So yeah, and unfortunately my street floods. So I would need Noah's Ark, unfortunately, to get out from over here right now. But hey, I got power, I got internet, I got plenty of food. I'll be all right. So yeah, just been a nice low energy kind of day, but I got plenty done and always here, excited to be with you guys. So thanks for watching.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you being here. My fault, everyone, that we are late. That's on me. That's not on Cam. That's on me. So let's go right into it. Let's get the one play out of the way that should have been a safety.
Dog, I mean, like,
should have been a safety.
Mario didn't say anything. He didn't refuse the halftime interview. He just cursed up a storm in the face of the sideline reporter who asked him. And you know, I'm not even gonna go there. I know, like, it was only but 2 weeks ago that I went on that diatribe at the Clemson game. Jordan Travis, running for his life of his own independent volition and locomotion, went into the end zone and was tackled in the end zone. And even if you want to say, well, the ball didn't, Wesley was saying actually got that ball out, right? So as he chops in and that ball is jumbled and everything, that means he didn't have possession of it in the field of play, which means it only could have been possessed where? In the end zone. It's clear as fucking day. I don't understand how. And I said I'm not going to yell and scream. I'm not going to go on the whole diatribe because I'm not going to do it. I wrote in The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. It's to the point where, like, the ACC should be fucking ashamed of themselves for blatantly and outright cheating Miami. Now, I said they cheated Miami on those plays. Like, we beat Clemson, we lost to Florida State. I'm not saying that play would have changed the outcome, right? But in the moments of contention or whatever, they should be fucking ashamed of themselves. It's plain as day, 2 times, and Mario said at the game, said that's twice. And everybody knows what he's talking about. There's no possible way other than other than intentional, like, formation. Like, they called down and said, make sure that that's not a safety for Florida State because we as the ACC are trying to get them to the ACC championship game. Now, again, they beat us. That would not have changed the end result. However, in that moment of leverage and everything, that play mattered, right? And to the point, the broadcast said it. This is the last thing I'm going to say because I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to do the whole normal Cam Underwood thing. I'm going to keep this nice and short. The broadcast called over to the replay booth and said, hey, halftime, you guys want to come over? Can we get an explanation? Can we get an explanation on the phone? And said, no, we're going to come over, but the referees, this is what they said on the broadcast. The replay booth said, we're going to come over and talk to you guys, right? There was another play. I think it was the pass interference that wasn't called against Florida State when they were trying to throw to Colby Young. And they called over there again. And we're like, hey, guys, can we get an explanation? Oh, wait, they didn't even ask the second time because first of all, the replay booth guys did not go over at halftime. And secondly, when they called subsequently for one other thing, and I think they did it again, they didn't even answer the phone, right? So you're hiding. You know that you're fucking wrong. It's bullshit and it needs to stop. I'm stopping there.
In regards to the rest of the game officiating, I've heard it from both sides in regards to it not being officiated correctly, leaning in both directions. So where do you stand on everything but the safety?
There were missed calls both ways. Like, honestly, I don't think that Emory Williams converted that 4th down scramble where he broke his arm. I don't think so. You know what I mean? I openly said that James Williams, that was a clear targeting. I don't know. Like, I don't know how you missed that. Like, he's 6'5", so like even when he bends down, he's going to be at head level with a 5'10", 6-foot player. But I mean, crown of the helmet launched into Jordan Travis's face. Like, I have no idea. And I even wrote it in the Good, Bad, and the Ugly. I said that was targeting, plain and simple. That wasn't even a Miami targeting, like an Amari Carter. You're big and strong and it looked bad targeting. That was like letter and intent of the law targeting. And I said, no, we're good. What? You know what I mean? So I just named 2 plays in which Miami benefited from, I think, bad calls, right? The scramble on 4th down, I do think that his knee touched when he was short on, replay review, because I thought he dove, but it looked like that right knee hit as he was and then he kind of dove Emory. And then the clear targeting there. But I know that there were, again, you had the safety, you had the pass interference. I saw Tomahawk Nation on that play. They're like, oh, uncalled offensive pass interference. Get the fuck out of here. Your defender is dragging Colby Young down. Like, no. And again, this is as somebody who openly admitted when you first asked, what did I say? 2 calls in which Miami benefited. So I'm not somebody who says, oh, Miami will never benefit. But like that play, like the only way that you thought that was offensive pass interference on Miami and not defensive pass interference on Florida State is if you're a Florida State person looking for like, the narrative or the support or whatever. Like there's no way. So, I mean, there were bad calls both ways. I don't think that, because I leave the stats up for this very reason. Let's go to, where is it? Home team penalties. I mean, they only had 3 penalties. They had a holding. They had on offense, they had 1 holding. They had a defensive holding on a 3rd down, and then they had unsportsmanlike conduct on Renardo Green. That was it, though. Like, there wasn't even really that much that really went in the opposite direction for Florida State. But, like, even with that being said, I don't think that the officials really did well. I think that they let the teams play a little bit throughout the game. And, I mean, you love seeing that in a Miami-Florida State game where, like, they're not stepping in on every single play. Like, let the guys talk a little bit, let them, be a little bit physical or whatever. But I thought the officials were pretty bad. But, I mean, it starts and ends with the safety. Again, it's unacceptable.
Okay. What are you proud of coming out of this game, or less emotionally just think was a bright spot of performance execution, and what didn't meet standards?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but like being competitive, honestly, we got blown out in this game by 6 touchdowns last year. And I mean, I wrote it at the top of Good, Bad, and the Ugly. Like, it's a moral victory. It completely and totally is. I hate them. It sucks. I get it. And like I wrote it and said, like, I know that y'all are going to roast me in the comments, and they did and are continuing to. And I get it. I loved the second quarter of the game. Miami 10-3 in the second quarter, won that quarter, won it with 129 yards of offense to Florida State having 1 yard of offense, going 3 and out all 3 times that they had the ball. Like, I mean, if you're looking for something, there's that. I mean, the defense played their behinds off. Like Florida State, like they took FSU out of a lot of what they like to do. They were physical in the run game. They were physical in the passing game. Both starting corners out. So you have Jadaise Richard and Damari Brown, the younger of the Brown brothers, getting the starts at corner. I mean, you hold Keon Coleman to 24 yards receiving. I know that he did have the 1 touchdown, and then he also got loose on the 1 punt return. That was really kind of bad coverage. They overran it. But still, even with plays being overrun, sometimes you don't see returns like that. So, I thought that the linebackers played really well. Like Wesley Basaint had a career day. So did Francisco Mauinoa. Corey Flagg was always in the right place. Cam Kinchins fought through a foot injury through the second half of that game. James Williams was, big and physical. Like I said, he even should have gotten ejected for that targeting. But, I mean, he made his physical presence felt repeatedly in that game. The running game was really solid. And then we missed a couple holes in the run game that would have really changed things. There was a third down where Mark Walton, excuse me. Let's try that again. Flashback. Sorry, brain wires got crossed in this rain. Mark Fletcher ran up the middle, and there's a hole like yay big on the screen to the right. And he just has to, hit that R2 jump step, and then he goes. You convert that one. You keep that drive going. And just over the course of, the first half, I thought went well. I know that we did get down early, but you come out on the first play and you throw the ball on, because we got the ball 1st and 10 on the 2 after a Florida State punt. But you come out, you throw vertical. Emory's like, oh, I can do this and everything. You go in, get that field goal to be tied at halftime. After that dominant second quarter, but then throughout the entire second half, like I think that this is at the direction of Mario Cristobal because, like, again, he's the head coach, and I know that Shannon Dawson's the play caller, but like, he just took the air out of the ball and just got more and more conservative, and that's the thing that we've talked about with Cristobal. And it was just like, it was inside run pass short of the sticks. Maybe you make a guy miss, maybe you don't, but then punt. The whole second half, so like that left much to be desired. You had a couple drops there. And everything. And then just at the end, it's another game with a Tyler Van Dyke interception. But the last thing that I wrote in the good, the bad, the ugly, and credit to who was the color analyst, Greg McElroy. It wasn't Greg McElroy. Yep. It was? Oh, okay, yep. Him. But look, you come in off the bench, only went 2 for 8 or whatever it was. But on 4th in the ball game, they draw up a him play. Right. So this is not about reading the field. This is a throw the ball to him play. Right. For your guy, former roommate, because he doesn't live with him anymore, leading receiver, your bestie in the world, Xavier Restrepo. They draw up a him play for number 7. Say, it's on the left hash. We're going to put you on a half roll. We're going to have a short switch release. You're going to have a spot route there with Brashard, and then you're going to have the outcut from Xavier, right? You're going to run that other corner off. Who's going to be playing man-to-man with a 9 route, so you got to create this huge window on the right sideline. Not even sideline. It was from the sideline inside the right hash. You had half the damn field. Throw the ball. And with a him play for your favorite receiver on the season, you refuse to cut it loose. Like, if ever there was anything that displayed the levels of mental anguish that he is in, right? You draw a play up and say that was all y'all do whatever you want. Xavier, you're going to go down to, this is Sandlot stuff. This is recess at the Waldorf School in Detroit stuff. 8 steps, busting out. The ball will be there. I'm not looking at Nick. I'm not looking at Sage. I'm not looking at Ricky. I'm not looking at nobody else. You go do this, and we're going to throw you the ball. Him play. That was the only play you could have made. And he refused to throw the ball. This man has issues, and they're not physical. They are mental. They are behind his eyes and between his ears. He is broken. And also your starting quarterback for the rest of the season, because Emory Williams reportedly has a compound fracture of arm, elbow, somewhere in there. Also reportedly had surgery already, but Mark Cristobal concretely did say that he is out for the season. Will be hopefully a full go for spring. Did not detail what the injury is, but from those multiple reports, that is what it is. But again, this is the issue with having very light depth at quarterback, because your one play was that dive on 4th down, snapped his arm, and now you're back with Tyler Van Dyke starting. So there were performance things to like. There were performance things to not like from the Florida State game. It did start to get away from us a little bit. And they ran that counter tray last year over and over and over again. It almost looked like the North Carolina game from 2020, where they just ran counter for 8 million yards. And they only hit it twice with Trey Benson. But damn it, those two, boy. Like, it was a 25-yarder on 3rd and 7 and then a touchdown run. You know what I mean? Like, they only hit it twice, but when they hit it, man, it was really impactful. So, again, yeah, lots to like. Still room to grow. But in the end, that's a third consecutive loss, and that's 10 out of the last 14 for Florida State. Like, you got to win it next year. Like, you cannot keep losing these. I mean, Mario's now in this one, right? And these are the games in which you are measured. Like, Lloyd Carr got fired from Michigan because he lost like 5 of his last 6 to Ohio State. John Cooper famously went 2-14-1 against Michigan as Ohio State's coach.
Don't give us 4 more.
Huh?
I said, don't give us 4 losses more. 2-10-1.
I swore it was more than 10. Okay, 2-10-1. I thought it was more than that. I'm sorry, excuse me. But it was to that point where it was just like, hey. Like, even with all the rest of the win, like we talked a couple weeks ago about how Penn State beats everybody but Ohio State and Michigan, right? But for John Cooper, he beat everybody but Michigan. And that's enough to get you run, right? And now I'm not saying that even if we have a third consecutive loss under Cristobal, 4th overall to Florida State next year, that Cristobal will be run or anything. But like eventually, that's the thing that rises to the top of the line when you talk about should a coach stay or should a coach go. And again, backing that up, also 5 in a row and 9. What was it? 5 in a row and 7 out of 9 to North Carolina. Like, it's like one thing if it's like, okay, well, it's Florida State, but then it's just like, and Carolina, and like, so again, lots to like. It is a lot of, the moral victory kind of stuff because, like, yeah, and also for me, I got to do it. Shout out to my guy, Donald Chaney Jr., 6 carries for 85 yards in the second quarter alone. You know what I mean? Like, there were bright spots. And I haven't even gotten to Jacoby George, 6 catches for 153 and 2 tutties. Now, I know he did catch the YOLO ball for 85 yards, but he caught it and made it happen. So, like, that's still a guy. Again, we can look at all these individual performances, but, like, it's just not enough yet. But definite steps in the right direction. But still, it leaves you with a sour taste in your mouth because I got to hear these people for another 360 whatever days.
First of all, a note to your readers here. Don't they understand that you're not into moral victories? You're not considering this a good thing or something to be celebrated, but there's something about saying, okay, our team is here, their team is here, therefore this is what I'm expecting. I got better than expected. We got some positive out of this. We got a fiercely competitive game. That's a good thing. Not the result, but the surpassing expectations against a top 4 team in the country.
Right. And like I've said, I don't honestly think that Florida State is a top 4 team in the country. Like, they're very gettable. I didn't think that we could get them this year, but like they've gotten so many bounces and breaks, man. Like, I think that it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. And again, been there and seen it. 2017. Like, they have a very good team. I'm not going to try and say that they're not, but like, as I watch these other teams every week who are like, playoff contenders and whatnot, I think that there's a clear difference between them and Florida State. And I think that'll bear itself out if they make the playoff in the end. And if they go undefeated, they probably will and should, because undefeated speaks for itself. But yeah, in general, the performance I thought was better than it was more competitive. I'm not going to say holistically that it was a better performance with only like 13 first downs and, what were the Miami stats? 13 first downs, 4 out of 16 on third, 1 out of 2 on fourth. 335 yards, but we outgained Florida State. You know what I mean? Like, we held it was 29-20 to 30 and 40. So it was basically even on time of possession. Like, there were some things, but like, also it wasn't necessarily like a really good holistic performance in a vacuum. So we got to go back to the drawing board. We got to keep moving forward. And crazy as it sounds and seems, if Miami wins out, that's a 9-win season. Like, it's on the table, right? You win the last 2 of the regular season, go 8-4, you win your bowl game, that's 9 wins. And I know a lot of people are like, Cam, come on. I'm just saying, right? I wrote it before the season. I said 7-5 proved me wrong. It looks like we're going straight there, but still, you can have 7, 8, potentially 9 wins in this season. It doesn't feel like this is a 9-win season at all, but like it could be on paper at the end. So there's still a lot to work for, but as he returns to the lineup, Tyler Van Dyke got to figure it out, whatever it is. I mean, he think about it, pray about it, do a seance, dance in the rain right now. I don't know, but whatever you've been doing, change it up. I don't know. He's talking about, I got to talk to my grandfather who played collegiately. He coached a couple collegiate sports and call Grandpa Van Dyke then. Whatever you got to do. But whatever it is to get back to what we saw in September and previous would be great. But, I mean, yeah, it has to change. Kylo Ren, Miami Kane, appreciate the super chat there. Luckiest teams in America, OSU and FSU. Unbelievable. I don't know about, somewhat the first one, but the second one, I mean, Florida State, they look, and sometimes you have to get lucky along the way to a good season or to a great season. But they have definitely gotten lucky.
Kylo Ren, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Before we move on to, I don't know what needs to be said about Tyler Van Dyke, you pretty much laid it out there in regards to whatever he needs to do to shake himself back straight and in the right direction. But, in looking at Emory Williams' performance, it doesn't look pretty on the stat sheet, but I think some things that are pretty obvious need to be taken into consideration. He's starting against this team on the road, and it's a first start, correct? Second start.
Clemson, after Tyler was hurt with the knee.
Oh, last year
this year, like 3 weeks ago.
That's right. He started that game. Okay, So second start, first road start, and I don't remember there being dropped passes. So I'll put some of it on just lack of, he doesn't have those reps under his belt. And I'm talking about practice as well that TVD has with that same receiver core. You're not going to have that chemistry. I
mean, he got the majority of snaps this week going into the Florida State game. Mark Cristobal said that it was told to him on Thursday that he would be starting. So, yeah, I mean, he had enough snaps and everything, and especially like seeing what they were running early in the pass game, but like it just got to be all screens, everything. Florida State almost jumped one for a touchdown. I mean, it was just like it. And like, I know, like, okay, if you want to say that's an extension of the run game and everything, but in the first half, the run game was actually cooking. Even in the third quarter, the run game was cooking. You know what I mean? So, but it was just like, it was all horizontal stuff. It was all like this quick stuff. I mean, again, our offensive line is one of the best in America. He had time. There were pockets. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I think that Mario gave Dawson the conservatism. He hit the conservative button and just said, hey, dial it down. And I would have rather that he dialed it up. I would have rather that he was just like, look, this is our full offense. If he hits it, he hits it. If he doesn't, he doesn't. And like, I'm not saying be reckless with it, but that was a game that was there for the taking. And I really thought that a lot of the play calling in the second half was non-competitive. Like, even before Florida State got up 2 touchdowns, I said at the time, I was like, this is starting to look like when you call a game to keep it competitive and not get blown out on the scoreboard. I said that. And like through the first half, you're being conservative and everything, and like you're kind of doing that, but then you're tied at halftime, right? So you're like, okay, cool. But like, even coming out, shout out to Frank Ladson, another great play by not abandoning his area and, getting that off the onside kick to start the second half, which, I mean, I know people want to say, oh, well, that was ballsy that's a scared play from Florida State. Like, if Florida State is so much the better team, you don't need to steal a possession. I thought that was really scaredy cat. And Norvell talking about, oh well, we were going to do that all week. I don't believe you. I don't believe you for a second. Like, I think that he started to panic a little bit with that. And good on Frank for being there. But then, like, in that instance, I would have liked to see go for something. You know what I mean? And just like, it was just so conservative and like just so, we're playing not to get blown out. I'm like, it's a tie game though. We're playing not to get blown out. It's a 1-score game, and then you get down by 2 scores, and then like, fine, I'll throw a YOLO ball, which should have been batted down, intercepted 2 or 3 times. It somehow teleports through both defenders, and up the sideline goes Jacoby George for 85. But then it's like, cool, we're not going to do anything like that anymore, And like, as I'm looking, because I leave the stats up for this very reason.
What were you doing when that ball went through those 2 defenders?
Oh, it was a very no. Oh my God, yes! Like, it was a very yes moment, because like, yeah, I thought that was going to get intercepted on the trailing defender, a la Tyler Van Dyke, when he's throwing those interceptions in the cover 2 hole, and then Kevin Knowles from down here, MacArthur High School, by the way, shout out him. But like, coming over the top, I'm like, oh, there's no way that's getting through. Like, what do you? No! Oh! Touchdown! That was my reaction.
That play reminded me of the Saints-Vikings game about 4 or 5 years ago, where there was no way that the Vikings should have lost the game. There's like 13 seconds left in the game, and the Saints are at their own 30, 35-yard line. Breeze throws that ball, pretty much the same deal, right down the right sideline. And it's like the defender that's the safety that's coming over to the play got in between, thinking, do I want to go for the ball? Do I want to go for the hit? And then at the last minute thinking, it was almost like 2 outfielders that are about to collide. And he's more concerned with, I don't want to collide with defending the play.
I take it, you got it. I take it, you got it. Oh my God. Like, the ball hit the ground. Wasn't it the other way? Wasn't it at the Minnesota? Wasn't it Stephon Diggs before he went to Buffalo?
The Saints would have won. Yes.
Yeah. The Saints were on defense. Yeah. And that's when he was crying.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yes.
But but right. No, I got you. I got you. Right. Yeah. But that's what it looked like. But I mean, as I was looking up, as you were saying that, after a negative completion, so loss of 3 on a screen that almost went for a FSU touchdown to Jacoby George, Emory Williams missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 throws in a row. Most of them were short. Then he hit the YOLO ball, touchdown. Xavier Restrepo dropped the ball. Then he hit one to Brashard Smith, broke his arm, and then that was that. But like, 8 out of 23 for 175 and 2 touchdowns. Like, there's a lot going on there. Like, like 20 yards of completion, buoyed by the 85. But so you're talking 7 completions for 90 and a touchdown, right? Outside of the YOLO ball. Like, that's, and then you're not being diverse in the run game. You're not being dynamic in the run game after the beginning of the 3rd quarter. That's not really going to be competitive to win. But that shows how great the defense was on the day in stifling a Florida State offense where 7 completions for 90 yards and a touchdown on 22 attempts outside of the 1 YOLO ball was competitive. So like, it was great to see the Miami quarterback, whomever it was, well, up until the last throw, but throughout the course of the game, not throwing the ball to the other team, but like, objectively looking at like what the passing game was. Very bad. Very, very bad. Very, very bad.
And the YOLO ball, which I've never heard that term before, by the way.
You only live once. YOLO, like, hey, whatever. I'm just going to throw it. Like, Calvin Johnson or whoever's up there. Like, whatever, I'm going to throw it, and there's somebody over there. We'll see what happens.
That was a well-thrown ball. It hit him perfectly in stride.
Yeah, it was crazy that all of that happened, but I guess that was just like muscle memory. Hey, like, I got a rush, a little bit of pressure, whatever. Stick that right foot in the ground, flip my hips. I'm going to drive the ball up the right sideline, make the best throw that I've made, and somehow it got through. But yeah, there were things to like and things not to like, but like the overall efficiency of the passing game was quite poor. Even though emotionally it felt a little bit better because we weren't turning the ball over every third throw.
Yeah, that helps.
A little bit.
All right. Before we get to a couple commits and also the Louisville game, we've got Leroy. We appreciate your contribution. Since Jimbo is gone from Texas A&M, what percentage chance do you give us getting Shemar Stewart, defensive lineman, Texas A&M?
I mean, does he want to transfer? And do we want him? I mean, he was better as a freshman than he was as a sophomore, or than he has been so far as a sophomore. I'm going to say 0. I think that those bridges were burned. I think that his handler from down here made well and sure that, that's not a way that we're going to go, that it would be possible, even if something like this were to happen. So I'm going to say 0 and be surprised if something different happens. But like, that's a team and a commit list that I would love to be looking at. I would love to look at Florida's commit list, just because there's teams all over the Southeast that are going shopping on their recruiting class right now, and everything. So, I mean, there are places to go, and there'll be plenty of people in the portal. So I know that we're going to need bodies at several positions, and hopefully we'll be able to lock one of those down, and or many of those down, particularly like a game-breaking wide receiver, because we have not gotten one in the portal. I mean, Colby Young's nice. He's fine. But if you look at all the guys that Miami has gone after in the portal at wide receiver specifically that have gone elsewhere, their performances are much better than what we have on this roster. I mean, yeah, so we will need some of that. But in terms of Shemar Stewart, I wish him well. I hope that he has a great career. I just do not believe that it will be any ways or any time associated with the University of Miami.
Before we get to the home matchup against Louisville, which should be an interesting game, they're playing for a whole lot, but the two teams are very comparable in regards to talent. And one of the reasons why it's basically a pick'em game in Vegas, we do have 2 commits, one coming in from last week, Cole McConathy, edge rusher out of Alabama, 6'5", 225.
Yeah, he's a kid who just flipped from Louisville right now, actually, as we were online. Yeah, so he's a big kid, edge rusher, twitchy, guy that Miami's been working for a while, and literally 16 minutes ago posted that he's committed to the University of Miami. So I will have to add that to the list there. But yeah, Spanish Fort, as a 3-star guy, and look, even in his profile picture on 247, as you see in his Louisville, photo shoot and everything. So this is a guy with height and length, and twitchy athleticism on the edge there. A little bit bigger, as 225 as opposed to Cyrus Moss, who was like 6'6", 190 pounds, or whatever. He was listed at 205, but I mean, he's super duper rail thin still. But that's a good get. You get a guy from Louisville class that they thought kind of had an under the radar gem there, and then you go and pluck that gem straight out of their arrangement and bring him over to Miami in this class and everything. So yeah, we need bodies at defensive end. I think that he can be a developmental guy at a minimum moving forward. And yeah, I mean, I don't think that he's a world beat. He's not everybody's All-American. He's not like a super duper game changing player day one or anything. But again, good height, good size, good production as a senior. I think that his rating will rise when the final updates come to the 247 rankings for this class. So I think a good depth piece for now and really for the future, but not a terrible take. And I think better than a couple of guys on this commit list, because I'm starting to do notebooks now early in advance, because we got like a month till signing day or 5 weeks. So I'm trying to, really be on it this year. But like some of the players on this commit list, I know that we say that we're supposed to trust the coaches and their evaluations and everything, but like without throwing some names out there, there's a couple that like I would really like to see changes on those slots. And hopefully this is one going towards one of those. And hopefully we have a couple others, even with, remaining slots open. But Hey, and you take a kid away from a team in your conference that you're going to play multiple times coming up in the future. I'm perfectly fine with that. So welcome to the U, Cole.
Last week, it was Markel Bell, which I don't believe we discussed, the junior college offensive tackle out of Mississippi at 6'8.5", 340.
Yeah, this is a kid who's like, 6'9", 370. He's lost he was almost 400 pounds. But yeah, he's down to the 340, 350 range. But no, he's massive. He's the number one offensive tackle in JUCO. He's one of the top, I want to say 5 or 3 JUCO prospects in this class. And getting him to Miami is incredible. We need big dudes, and we want big dudes up front, especially. He moves pretty well for his size. Obviously, I think there's development to be had, but when you're working with a player of this size, you can be successful. So you add him as a very coveted, best offensive tackle from JUCO. You have Francis Mawinoa already starting as a true freshman. Samson Okunlola redshirting after he tore up a knee, but that's another 5-star. In this last class, you have another couple guys like a Matthew McCoy, who's been working at tight end, but just wearing a offensive player number 81 to be an extra lineman. But that's another guy that in the tackle size category of 6'6", 320 something. And then you bring in Markel Bell, damn near 6'9", 350. That's how you win. Like, the thing that kept the last week's game against Florida State competitive was the defensive and offensive lines for the Miami Hurricanes. The efficiency and the performance on both of those are what we use to take a step forward from what we'd previously seen, both in this season and last season against Florida State. So you add a player of this size and caliber to that group with Mirabal, Cristobal, because clearly he's involved in the coaching and development of offensive line, with the talent that's around as well. Now you're starting to build offensive lines and the size of team that you want to have. Again, Mario wants Miami to look like the biggest, baddest team in the world. Excuse me. So when Alabama, when Georgia, when Texas get off the bus, there's a clear difference with their big dudes. You know what I mean, right? And getting a guy like this and multiple of them, that's when you start looking like those teams, playing physically up front like those teams, and then you can pepper in the other thing. So a really big get. Didn't want to go by the wayside, but last week was a whole show dedicated to just the game. But welcome to the U, Markel, as well. So that's 2 big dudes in the last 2 weeks along the lines. We have more work to do, but this is really great.
I got to tell you, as we segue to this week's game against Louisville, I have had a heck of a time. I've pulled up about 6 rosters, just wanting to skim through the Louisville roster to count up how many Floridians are on the roster. And every time I do, the page locks up. So I just assume there's a ton of them.
Yeah, no, there are. Louisville football.
I've gone to 6 sites, and every time I can't even scroll through and do a count.
If I go control find and I go Florida, I have to go FLA because that's how it is. I got 16 on a quick search. I got 16 this year. So, 16 out of 85, that's more than a little bit. So, this is a team that has always recruited South Florida. They have pushed from solely living in the, I'll call it, second tier of player. The ones who could maybe be a roster take at a Miami, Florida State, but then instead of just being a roster take, they go to be a top half of the roster take at Louisville. But where that really turned, obviously, was when we fired Randy Shannon and then Teddy Bridgewater decided to go up there. That was not a second-tier player. That was not anybody's also ran. Like, that was what moved them from recruiting the second tier of South Florida kids to the first tier. And not necessarily being all of them, but like you could be in that kind of conversation, right? You have the infamous Willie Williams transfer there for a little bit after JUCO. That was, I mean, it was by way of other places, but he was the number one player in America when he was coming out of Carroll City Senior High School. You got guys, they got TJ Capers who reclassified, and he's up there as a freshman. That was a future 5-star in the 24 class who ended up as a 4-star in the 23 class when he, classified up and things like that. So, yeah, there's plenty of guys from Florida, specifically South Florida, who are on that roster. And as I scroll down this list, right, you got Stanquan Clark from Miami Central, Jarvis Brownlee from Carroll City, Ashton Galat from Boca Raton. Shout out Gilbert Frierson, transfer from the U, Coral Gables. Coral Gables Senior High School is where he went. Capers from Columbus. D'Angelo Hutchison, a DB, is from St. Petersburg Northeast. Miami Palmetto. Palm Beach Central. Renato Brown, wow, that's a name. He was a Miami recruit forever ago. Miami Central, Venice, Dade Christian, Tampa Gaither, and St. Thomas Aquinas. So plenty of guys from, the state of Florida. And that, more than anything, is why I thought that Louisville kind of petitioned to get Miami as one of their tentpole teams in the previous iteration of what the scheduling was going to look like, because they're like, hey, we can say that you're going to be on TV all 4 years. You're going to play at home either 2 or 3 times in your 5 years, depending on how it cycles with the recruiting and everything. But that could be a big draw to give them another foothold with recruits and everything. It, unfortunately for them, will only be 1 year because the scheduling paradigm obviously will change when we add Cal, Stanford, and SMU for next year, with Virginia Tech and Florida State being the annual tentpoles, and this concocted Louisville shenanigans going away. But this is a team that, like, if we play them like once every 3 or 4 years, would be fine. Really interesting. Like, I mean, I know that they're kind of catching lightning in a bottle. Another team that's had some very beneficial results in game operations to get to 9-1. All of them have not been blowouts whatsoever. But yeah, they're 9-1 coming in here and everything. So this is a team that obviously Miami wants to beat just because of the team across. But as a team that's having such a great season, if Miami were to find a way to win this on Senior Day, this would be the best win of the season. And I know that looking at it at the time, you're like, well, Clemson, well, Texas A&M, all that glitters is not gold. Those that we thought were going to be these real building blocks, they're average at best kind of squads. So, as we sit here, Mario's still looking for a signature win. It boggles my mind that potentially beating a 9-1 Louisville team would be the signature win. But find me a better win that we've had in Cristobal's tenure. I can't find it. So, hopefully we'll see. And, hopefully Tyler Van Dyke wakes up. Again, this is a team that he torched a couple of years ago. Remember, we had those 75-yard touchdowns on back-to-back plays. Jalen Knighton all by himself on the wheel route. You remember all those? That was Louisville, right? So I know it's a different coach. They brought Jeff Brom. He brought his brother Brian, his offensive coordinator, back. They got rid of Kenny Satterfield, or whatever his name is. Satterfield. I always want to call him Kenny. I have no idea. He looks like a Kenny to me. Anyway, but hopefully we can recapture some of that. And Tyler was like, yeah, I'm going to look at some games from earlier this year. I'm going to look at some games from last year. I hope he doesn't look at any games from last year, from 2 years ago, to try to get his mojo back. But I mean, maybe you look at that, Louisville game from 21 as hey, I did numbers that day. What were his numbers that day? They were a lot. I'm going to find it. but we'll see. Actually, I found it. 21 game log. Nope. Tyler Van Dyke. Passing game log. Do we not play Louisville in 21? Was it 20?
The 2020.
Oh,
game,
that was De'Aaron King
yeah.
who did all that in 20. Whoops.
And yeah. A couple backs leaked out of the backfield. Were those Donald Chaney plays or Jalen Knighton plays?
Jalen Knighton plays. Yeah, 18 for 30 for 325 and 3 touchdowns. Yeah, that was a De'Aaron King day, not a Tyler Van Dyke. Well, hey, maybe he watches that one and gets inspired. Who knows?
I was trying to figure out where you were going because I definitely knew that game because Louisville was actually a slight favorite, and that was a Saturday night ABC game with Fowler and Herbstreit against Louisville.
Facts.
There.
Yep.
And I'm going to guess the score was like 37-14. Miami won that game by a lot.
It was 47-30.
47-34. Okay. Yeah, they got in front and it was a scoring fest, but it wasn't close at all.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm recalling a game at Hard Rock when Louisville had Jalen Harrell, and I believe Miami won. Is that going all the way back to like 18 or 19, possibly? That might have been with like Jaron Williams at quarterback.
Oh, yeah, 52-27.
Yeah.
19. Yeah. That was 2 weeks before Jaron got drunk and lost that game to FIU at Marlins Park on the site where the Orange Bowl once stood. Yeah, good old drunk Jaron. Yeah. Allegedly.
Corey, thank you for the contribution, sir. Just logged on, and you might have already covered this, but wanted to know what quarterbacks will be left from this year going into next season.
That's a good question. Emory Williams will be returning. I can tell you that. Judd Anderson is a recruit in this class who should be joining. Past that, it's a coin flip. And for those reasons, I've said Miami needs to get 2 in the portal. Ja'Carri Brown could stay. He could also leave. And I've been on record, Mark knows this, I've already been said, Tyler, I appreciate it. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here. So, that's my stand. Even though both Ja'Carri Brown and Tyler Van Dyke do have remaining eligibility moving forward, I could see Ja'Carri Brown trying to fight for the starting job and say, hey, this has been my real development year away from the spotlight. Every week, every coach is talking, oh, he's getting so much better and da-da-da-da. Pretend I'm from Missouri. You're going to have to show me, right? And he actually puts in that work and he comes back. I could see that after this red shirt for him if he really wants to kind of stick it out. And we've seen other players in other places do that. Carson Beck at Georgia, DJ Shockley at Georgia who waited 5 years for his time to play. Other guys in other spots as well, have waited a long time to play at their chosen school. So maybe he does stay. I just, in terms of who stays, I cannot see a path forward with Tyler Van Dyke. I think that, it might be a little bit of a sore thumb kind of situation, but I think that you have him go through senior day activities this week with the rest of the seniors, the few that there are, or those who are leaving the program. But so for my money, I would say Emory, probably Ja'Carri, probably moving to possibly somewhere in that range, Ja'Carri, Judd Anderson, and then a transfer, preferably 2. But even with that being the case, I've said it before and I'm saying it again, I really have big concerns about the state of Miami's quarterback recruiting. I'm not going to say that we're a quarterback away from a championship team, but we're a quarterback away from a solid 9 or 10 win kind of outfit. And with all due respect to the players on the roster and like in the pipeline, I don't see it. I don't like. I don't see it. So I need better clay. I need better ingredients. To make better pizza. I'm not going to say the but you know what I mean. Like I need better quarterbacks, and I don't see it. And like again, if you want to look at the emotional part of last week's game, great. Emory didn't turn the ball over every third throw. He was still 8 out of 23. You know what I mean? Like you can't live on that kind of performance. You can't live on 35% completions. You cannot have it. And those completions and throws were mostly screens. You cannot have that. Like that's not objectively good enough. Like taking the emotion of not turning the ball over every third throw like Tyler was doing, right? Take the emotion out of it. That's pretty piss poor, right? Like 8 out of 23. You're going to live on that? Nah, guys. No, right? And Jakari, he hasn't been able to hit the ocean from the sinking Titanic before. So, and everybody's talking about, oh, well, yeah, he's gotten so much better and da-da-da-da. Show me then. Put it out there. And I watch warm-ups every week that I go to these games. The accuracy that we've been led to believe has developed behind closed doors, when it comes to warm-ups, it ain't there, kids. I'm telling you because I've seen it, because I go out there and I specifically go and I look and I watch, and I've been talking with my good friends Brandon O'Doy and Brian London, sitting in my same row of the press box like we've been for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years together. We talk about this during warm-ups every single week, right? But all of a sudden I'm supposed to believe that he's Superman. All of a sudden he's sitting back there, ... Forgive me for being a little bit cynical when I've seen him be a 40, maybe 50% passer on some, easy level stuff, that I'm not going to just obligate him that all of a sudden he's 67% and dropping dimes all over the field. I'm sorry. I'm going to need to see it. And then Judd Anderson, I mean, there are other, outlets and everything reporting that, staffers call him, quote, stud, as, terms with his senior development and everything. I guess that they and I have different definitions of what a stud quarterback is and looks like. But I mean, I know that I'm being critical of that position, but it's such an important position. And if you doubt that it's such an important position, go back and look at these games that Tyler Van Dyke has singularly thrown away. Like I don't know. So that was I got to the answer and then I gave even more explanation, but in returning to next year, either 2 or 3 of Emory, Jakari, and Judd, and then Tyler got to go somewhere else, and then we got to bring in a transfer or 2. And there's going to be names out there, and names that and names that have been communicated or connected with Miami in the past, including a couple that I know concretely because I was talking to DMing people, recently about them. Don't know if they'll leave or whatever, but like this is an advantageous situation. And then maybe if you get an actual game-breaking receiver, either in recruiting or the portal, or God forbid both, you could really be cooking with something there. But I would say, yeah, probably 2 or 3 of the underclassmen return, and then we shuttle ourselves, or we separate company with Tyler Van Dyke and wish him well in his future endeavors, whether in college or I'll just say elsewhere because I don't know about the NFL. But
that line that you just cited, that I first heard from Stewart Scott, the late great Stewart Scott, you don't have to leave, but you got to get up out of here. Does that come from a song? Or did he make
it might be. I just knew it as just that was an old like hood proverb. I don't know. Okay. Like I'd heard it all around. I mean, both in Detroit and in Chicago, where my family's from. That was just a phrase that we knew. I don't know. Like maybe a modern day old Negro spiritual saying, but that was just a thing. But yeah, you ain't got to go home, but you do. But and that's where Tyler is. Like, hey, but maybe he goes home to Connecticut. That would be an upgraded quarterback, right? Maybe get a couple more wins. Maybe Art Sikowski did it when he went from wherever to Rutgers. You know what I mean? So, or from Illinois to Rutgers, it can happen. But yeah, in terms of like next season for his playing, Tyler Van Dyke will be plying his trade elsewhere.
The great Artur Sikowski was brought up just yesterday as we were breaking down the Illinois-Iowa game, because he left as a graduate and decided football was the end of his career.
Oh, he went pro in something other than sports.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
I mean, look, I did too, so I get it.
Absolutely. Very few of us are that level athlete, and I know that Cam was an exceptional athlete, but
You already know.
as they say, there are levels to these things.
Buckets, yeah, they're very much. Even if I had been able to take the one college scholarship that I was offered, the one time, and I don't know if I've told this story, but long story short, I did get a written offer to go visit a school, and I got it before the practice in which I tore my ankle apart. Like literally that day on Martin Luther King Day, my senior year, the athletic director was like, "Oh my God," and I was like, me? Like, I mean, I'm a little athletic, but all right. So, it was a small school, you know, and wasn't nothing big. Look, it wasn't like Michigan State, Duke, Carolina was looking at your boy. That's not, and I was a basketball player, in case you couldn't tell from the picture perfect jump shot. But like literally, I got that letter before that practice, and we're in practice, and then I had the injury that ended my career completely. So, yeah, a little fate playing with you, boy. But I was always going to go pro in something other than sports. I knew my academics was going to take me further than my athletics, but it was just kind of ironic in a negative kind of way for me that, yeah, the one, like when I got the actual letter that same day, I got the injury, but it happens.
Yes, it does. You have to be prepared for life and whatever it hands you.
Ye oldie noggin. But yeah, so hopefully the Miami Hurricanes are prepared for Saturday and whatever the Louisville Cardinals hand towards us. A solid running game with a leading running back, Jawar Jordan. No idea where he's from, but I know that he's put up gigantic numbers for them this year. A random game managing quarterback. But again, if you're not throwing the ball away, a random game managing quarterback, last name Plummer, who's not related to Jake Plummer. I saw that Justin DeTavio put that in his film preview. I believe that to be erroneous. But still out there, you know, and leading this team to a 9-1 record, which, again, kind of crazy. But, like, who are the – I mean, they beat Indiana by a touchdown. Cool. They beat NC State by a field goal. We didn't do that. Shut out Duke after a bye. You know, basically shut out Virginia, Virginia Tech squeaked by Virginia. Like every week, you just look up and down the schedule. It's just like, you know, this started with 6 wins in a row, lost a game, 3 more, and boom, like 6 wins plus 3 equals 9. 10 weeks into the year, and here we sit. So it'll be interesting to see, but we're going to need to hopefully find something in the passing game because they're going to make us have to do that to win.
They are shooting to be the 2023 version of TCU because, it is not impressive to see week to week, but they just keep mounting the victories. The loss was to Pitt, a 2-8 Pitt team by 3 scores. I watched them play Virginia last week. They were in trouble. In trouble.
I remember that from last week. But I mean, like, hey, be in trouble or not, the thing that Miami was unable to do against Georgia Tech, survive and advance. Like, you know, again, it don't got to look pretty, but by 1 or a million, as long as you have more points at the end of 60 minutes than the other team, look, you can work on the interstitial issues. But if the scoreboard is in our favor, when the clock strikes 0 at the end and everybody's leaving the field, you have to feel good about that. You know what I mean? And like 9 times out of 10, that's been the state of affairs. So, you know, this, like last week, like every other week on the schedule, is a game that can be gotten by Miami. This is a game that Miami can go win. It's just incumbent upon us to be able to go out there and do that. And we'll see what happens. But it'll be really interesting. It is a nooner on ESPN, Senior Day. So get out there early to support those who have been with this program and will be, you know, leaving, graduating or moving on elsewhere. I think it's going to be very light attendance. I was talking with Brandon earlier today. I said over under 30,000 in the seats, and I think it's going to be fewer than that. I don't think that it's going to be a heavily attended game. It's going to be one of those classic ones where people talk about, oh, yeah, you know, y'all love this team, but y'all don't come out and blah, blah, blah. I would really love it if you came out and supported. I'm not saying, like, make it a Notre Dame 2017 full sellout and turning people away at the gate. Like, I'm going to be realistic, and it's raining from now until Saturday morning probably. I get it, guys. But, like, this is also the 6th and final home game of the year, right? So if you're talking about I miss football. I love the Miami Hurricanes and da-da-da. I want, like, you know, hey, I've shouted out so many people, that I've met at tailgates this year. I think I've shouted out like 15 people just from walking around over at Hard Rock Stadium. I don't have any State of the U branded gear. I'm just me living my life, walking around. Hey, yo, Cam, I see you with Mark and da-da-da. And I appreciate all those people, right? You want that opportunity? Come out to the game. You want to go to the tailgate? You want to see your Miami Hurricanes friends, whoever they are, and out there. It doesn't have to be me. You want to go see the Orange Bowl boys roaming and scooping them? Cool, go do that. You want to go see X and them? I mean, I usually do tailgate with X and them. Go do that. You want to go with La Familia and Q and them? Go do that. You want to go and do that. But after this week, the next time that we're going to have a home game is September. Because August 31st is on the road at Florida. So we're not having another home game until September. And we're clearly not playing in the Orange Bowl. So, like, that's not going to happen, this year. But, like, we're coming to the end of the road this year, guys. Like, literally in a couple of days. Like, we're cruising down the turnpike and we're at exit, like, 4. Like, we're going to get to exit 1, and then the turnpike, like, it turns and it ends and it runs into Dixie Highway down in Homestead. I say that because in my new secret day job, that's part of my coverage area, and I literally take that drive all the way to the end of the turnpike. There is no more turnpike. It does not exist anymore. Like, that's where we're going. So if you're talking about all this, all the offseason, man, Mark, Cam, I wish we had football. I wish. This weekend is a time to fulfill that desire before you guys get on here. Oh my God, it's gonna be so long until there's a home game and da-da-da-da-da. Govern yourselves accordingly. Do what you feel. Me, myself, personally, I'm gonna be there. And I only missed one game because I had a work commitment at the secret day job that precluded me from going to the Virginia game. But otherwise, again, I'm going to be there. I hope that you guys are there and really come out and support this team. So come out and support these seniors. I know it's not been the kind of season or few seasons that we would have wanted, but they're still, putting their all into it and everything. And I hope that you guys really show up and it'll be fun.
Corey, we appreciate the contribution. So before we take off here, Corey is apparently concerned about Lance Guidry taking off. He wants to know if you are.
I mean, I believe, like, other teams would be stupid not to go after him. Like, he is a nominee for the Broyles Award for the best assistant coach in America. So too are former Miami coaches, Frank Ponce, in his 17th turn as the Appalachian State offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. So too is Notre Dame defensive coordinator, former Miami Hurricanes head coach, Alfred Golden. So too is Penn State defensive coordinator and former Miami Hurricanes head coach, Manny Diaz. So there are, if you look up and down that list, and there's plenty of them on there, plenty of nominees. 4 of them have, ties to the Hurricanes and everything. But yeah, if you are a team looking to improve your defensive performance, why would you not look at Lance Guidry? And likewise, to some of these other ones, why would you not look at Al Golden? Because Notre Dame's defense has been pretty good. Why would you not look at Manny Diaz? And I know that, like, they came up wanting against Michigan, but, like, that's a damn good defense. I know people like, they had a missed fit on a run play and da-da-da. No team is perfect. Not even the best team of all time, the 2001 Hurricanes. But, like, if you're USC, would you call Lance Guidry, Manny Diaz, Al Golden? Maybe not Al Golden. But the other two, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like, some of these other teams around, yeah. Why? Because of the demonstrable work product that this man has done and the way that he's carried himself. I love that answer a couple weeks ago at the Monday presser. Like, so how do you basically not make it an us versus them of defense versus offense? Because, like, y'all have been balling, the offense hasn't been doing anything. And he's like, look, man, our job is to outperform the defense from the other team. Every play, every series, every game. That's our focus. And when you do that as your focus of competition, then you don't do this, where you're like, hey, Tyler, or, like, whatever, you know what I mean? By looking and saying, okay, what can we do in this game to outperform the other defense so that we hold them to fewer points so that we give ourselves a chance to win the game? What can we do against them, right? And I love that because, like, I hadn't necessarily thought of it that way, so, like, expanded my worldview, but also, like, he wasn't just saying it to say it, you know what I mean? And I'm like, but that's also the people management and politics part of it, where you have to have some clear construct for that, because, like, yeah, it would be really easy to be like, God damn, Shannon, offense. We over here doing the heavy lifting. We're playing 70 snaps a night. They're getting negative this, negative that. Punt you the ball, punt you the ball, punt you the ball, and y'all ain't doing shit. Right? It'd be real if it were me. Actually, it has been me because I've written that literally in a good, bad, and ugly. I go there real quick. He's like, that's not even. We got to do our job, and I get it. Losing is part of life. It's part of sports. You're going to have those kind of things, but it's even having that mentality, that viewpoint clearly. That really showed me something about him. This is a grown man with a grown sentimentality, like a grown sensibility about going about the job. So I believe that some people will probably try to kick the tires on, probably a couple Miami coaches, but hopefully, the renewed financial support from the institution and the collectives comes to bear. And, we are able to take care of our guys and have continuity, which is the thing I was arguing with my good friend Roman from the Orange Bowl Boys about regarding Shannon Dawson. We cannot keep turning over coordinators annually. We cannot keep having paradigm shifts. We cannot keep having a new install and a new verbiage. We have to have continuity at some point. We have to be able to take a step forward. And like some of the things like we talked about in a couple of weeks ago, is like, hey, if we're doing this on offense, we're doing this and nothing else because this is year one in the system. Year two, this is the foundation, and then it expands. And now we have counters, and we have trick plays, and we have constraints. We have other things we can go to outside of that. But right now, we're only in the year one zitch, right? We're only in the year one spot because we're in year one. We need a year two to expand further, right? I believe that with both coordinators. And honestly, Guidry's done an incredible job, so I don't want to lose him for those reasons. But, all that and more. But hopefully we are able to keep him around here. Seems like he wants to be here, and we can move forward together. But those are my thoughts on Lance Guidry and a little bit about others potentially leaving. But hopefully we are able to have, if not full staff continuity, like the majority of it, so that we can continue to take a step forward because we really need to.
And at State of the U this week?
State of the U. Well, we finally took down the Florida State stuff because, obviously it is no longer Florida State week. But we are in the basketball season, undefeated so far. Mike Schiffman taking the lead on the recaps, ACC Power Rankings, Monday Musings. We have How to Watch. We have our betting sheet list comes up on Friday. Other things like that, some other good stuff. And then obviously, like I said earlier, getting ready for National Signing Day on December 20th because it is around the corner. And hopefully, like I was talking about, we will be updating and upgrading this 2024 recruiting class. But you can stick around for all of that and more. StateOfTheU.com, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at The State of the U. Personal Twitter is at Underwood Sports, where I'm just talking about random stuff. So please come on over and fan with us in any of all of those places. Again, if you're listening, thank you. Like, review, subscribe. Also hit the like bell if you are watching. Again, I appreciate you guys spending time with us on this Wednesday night. I will see you guys next week after hopefully a Louisville win. That's the day before Thanksgiving, isn't it? Yeah. Huh. Well, we'll talk about that. But if I don't talk to you guys by then, and I'm pretty sure that I will, happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. And we'll see you soon. Go Canes.